Last time, we rewrote Konoha from the inside out. Jiraiya took the hat. Tsunade came home as chief medic. Naruto trained openly under his godfather. Danzo got leashed. And the village's intelligence network went from one man's side hustle to a state-funded operation with dozens of agents feeding intel back to the Hokage's desk. That's a stronger foundation than anything canon Konoha had, but foundations get tested. And the test heading toward this village has a name. 6 of them, actually. Here is where the intelligence advantage matters most. In canon, Jiraiya's spy network was brilliant but underfunded. It ran on one man's stamina, his personal contacts, his willingness to walk into Omegakure alone. And that solo mission killed him. He infiltrated the Rain Village, fought the 6 Paths of Pain, lost his arm, had his throat crushed, and used his final breath to carve a coded message onto Fukasaku's back. That coded message, decoded using his own novel, Ika Ika Tactics, told Naruto that the real pain wasn't among the 6 bodies. It was the single most important piece of intelligence in the entire war, and it cost everything to deliver. In the Hokage timeline, that intelligence doesn't require a suicide mission to obtain. Jiraiya has state resources. He has funded agents embedded across the shinobi world. He has Anbu teams he actually trusts. The flow of information about Akatsuki, their movements, their members, their base of operations, arrives on his desk in reports, not in a dead man's last message. He likely knows about the 6 Paths of Pain well before they reach Konoha's gates. He may even know who's behind the piercings. Because Jiraiya doesn't just have spies, he has memory. Those 6 bodies, Nagato built them from people Jiraiya had met. The Deva Path wears the face of Yahiko, one of the 3 war orphans Jiraiya trained in the Rain Village decades ago. And that is the butterfly that changes everything. Pain is coming regardless. He wants the 9 tails, and no change of Hokage alters that. But the person sitting in the chair when he arrives, it's his teacher. The man who stayed in Omegakure for 3 years to raise him, Konan and Yahiko. The man who taught Nagato that his Rinnegan could save the world instead of destroying it. In canon, Naruto had to do the impossible. A teenager, freshly grieving his master, walked into a crater that used to be his village, beat 6 bodies of a god-tier shinobi using sage mode he'd only just learned, nearly lost himself to the 9 tails, and then somehow talked the man behind it all into believing in peace again. He did it alone, and it was magnificent, but it was also a miracle that almost didn't happen. In this timeline, Naruto isn't alone, and he isn't raw. He's been training with Jiraiya in village for years. He likely already has Sage Mode, not the crash course version he learned in a week at Mount Mayaboku out of desperation, but a properly developed mastery taught by the man who pioneered it. Imperfect Sage Mode was Jiraiya's limitation. Perfect Sage Mode with years of guidance. That's a different Naruto entirely. So picture this. Pain descends on Konoha, but the village has had advance warning. Evacuations are underway. Defensive positions are set. And standing at the front line is the 5th Hokage, Jiraiya, in full Sage Mode, looking at the Deva Path and recognizing the face of the boy he once called his student's best friend. Jiraiya doesn't just tag team the fight. He changes the entire nature of the confrontation. He is the one person alive who might reach Nagato not as a target, but as a teacher. The same way Naruto reached him in canon, except Jiraiya has decades of shared history that Naruto never had. And with Naruto and Jiraiya working together, the fight itself plays out differently. The spiral toward full-tailed beast release, the moment Naruto lost control and nearly broke the seal, that likely never happens. Jiraiya is there to hold the line. Naruto doesn't have to bear the weight alone. The village's destruction, at minimum contained, at best prevented entirely. But here's where the optimistic timeline hits its one real knot, and it's a big one: the Kurama problem. In canon, Naruto's path to controlling the Nine Tails was bound to two specific events, both triggered by crisis, not by design. The first, during the Pain fight, Naruto lost control so completely that 8 tails formed, and that near-full release triggered a fail-safe Minato had planted inside the seal. The fourth Hokage's chakra appeared in Naruto's mindscape, reinforced the seal, and for the first time told Naruto the truth, that the fourth Hokage was his father. That Minato chose to seal the 9 tails in his own son because he believed Naruto could master it. That meeting was one of the most important moments in the entire series, and it only happened because everything went wrong. If Jiraiya helps Naruto hold the line against pain, if the meltdown never happens, the 8 tails threshold is never reached. Minato's fail-safe never activates. Naruto might never learn who his parents were through that moment of crisis. So there's genuine tension here. A smoother timeline might ironically delay Naruto's most important revelation. He could reach Kurama's cooperation by some other road entirely, maybe during the Fourth Great Ninja War, maybe through years of gradual trust. But the trigger that forced the confrontation in canon, gone. And the road to tailed beast mode gets longer and less certain. But, and this is the part people forget, Jiraiya knows. He was Minato's teacher. He is Naruto's godfather. He knows exactly who Naruto's parents are. In canon, that secret was kept out of protection. Naruto was too young, the enemy's too dangerous. But a Jiraiya who is the Hokage, who controls the village's security, who has already leashed Danzo and Root, he can choose when to tell Naruto the truth. Not in a mindscape during a catastrophe, at a table, face to face. When the kid is ready to hear it. The revelation comes from love instead of crisis. And that might be the single most meaningful change in this entire timeline. Now Sasuke. His fall stays roughly the same because the forces driving it were always outside the village's control. Itachi's truth, Obito's manipulation, the reveal that Konoha's elders ordered the Uchiha massacre. Those dominoes fall whether Jiraiya or Tsunade wears the hat, but the Naruto who goes to meet Sasuke at the other end of that fall, he's a completely different person. Canon Naruto chased Sasuke from a place of loneliness and desperation. He clung to the bond because it was one of the few real connections he had. This Naruto, he grew up with a godfather who was present. He trained openly. He wasn't isolated. He's less desperate, more whole, and much harder for Sasuke to dismiss as a sentimental fool. Their final confrontation still happens, but Naruto walks into it from solid ground, not from an ache he's been carrying since childhood. So what does a Jiraiya Hokage timeline actually give us when you total it up? A happier, more connected Naruto, a far deeper early warning network on Akatsuki, a pain invasion that is met with preparation instead of chaos, and most importantly, that unique teacher-student bond between Jiraiya and Nagato, brought to bear at the exact moment the story needed it most. The village might not even need Nagato's rebirth to undo the damage, because the damage might never reach that scale. And maybe that is what this what if really tells us about the original story. Kishimoto needed the tragedy. He needed Jiraiya to die so Naruto could grow. He needed the village to be destroyed so it could be reborn. He needed Naruto to break so he could meet his father inside the breaking. Every beautiful thing in the series was built on a foundation of loss that didn't have to happen, and that's precisely what made it hit so hard. A Jiraiya Hokage timeline gives the characters what they deserved, but the original gave them what they needed, pain, and the choice to answer it with something other than more pain. The tragedy was the point, and that is why Jiraiya turned down the hat, not because he wasn't worthy, but because the story couldn't afford for him to be safe.